Let's talk about TikTok. As you may well know, it's a massively popular video sharing app, and there are two stories interlocking today. TikTok says it's quitting Hong Kong, and the US government looks set to ban it. Now, it's quitting Hong Kong because of the new security law, which gives Chinese authorities significant new powers there. TikTok is a Chinese-owned company with an American CEO. This appears to be an effort to put some distance between the company and China. But if that's a message for the Trump administration, it's not cutting through.
With respect to Chinese apps on people's cell phones, I can assure you the United States will get this one right too, Laura. I don't want to get out in front of the president, but it's something we're looking at.
Would you recommend that people download that app on their phones tonight, tomorrow, anytime currently?
Only if you want your private information in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party.
China, though, also appears displeased with TikTok. Here's the Chinese Foreign Ministry on the decision to pull out of Hong Kong.
We hope that the relevant parties will look at China's legitimate right to safeguard its own sovereignty and security in a fair, objective and rational manner, and that they will take a fair and rational approach to the issue of Hong Kong. Don't selectively set barriers and don't politicize the issue.
Don't politicise the issue, says China. Well, Twitter, Facebook and WhatsApp have already said they won't be handing over any data to Hong Kong's authorities. But all of the internet platforms are being told if they don't take down information or opinion that contravenes this new security law in Hong Kong, they could be fined and their employees could be imprisoned. Here's the BBC Tech reporter, James Clayton.
There's clearly nervousness and worry around whether this data, if push came to shove, would ever be shared with the Chinese government. And that's the thing, really, that TikTok now has a huge existential problem, because at the moment there are lots of people in the West who are very nervous about China, and having that connection with China is not particularly good for business if you're an international Chinese tech company right now.
And this is all happening after 3 years of phenomenal growth for TikTok. It's been downloaded more than 2 billion times. Last quarter, it generated the most downloads for any app ever. But last week, its largest market, India, banned it, along with 58 other Chinese apps. That appears connected to the border clash with China in the Galwan Valley, in which 20 Indian soldiers died. The Indian government, though, claims these Chinese apps are using data illegally and that they're a threat to India's national security. And on top of that, now TikTok is facing the prospect of losing the US, which is, of course, another huge market. There's hostility elsewhere too. An Australian senator who chairs an inquiry into foreign interference through social media says TikTok might be a data collection service disguised as social media. Here's James Clayton again.
So if you look at TikTok's business model, clearly it is to expand as much as possible into countries around the world, and they want to have a big presence in the West, they want to have a big presence in Europe, they want to have a big presence in the US, and of course it wanted to have a huge presence in India. The Indian market now looks very difficult for TikTok, considering it's banned. US is looking increasingly difficult. Where will this end? And I think if you work for TikTok, even if you're on TikTok right now, it is a worrying time, because really at any point now, I think, if you look at what Pompeo said, if you look at the fact that Trump doesn't particularly like TikTok, you remember that Tulsa rally that TikTokers claimed was tanked by them signing up in droves when they had no intention of actually going. So if you look at the potential there for some of TikTok's biggest markets to be affected here, it's clearly a very worrying and nervous time for TikTok.
Well, next we want to look at this story with the help of Jiayun Feng from BBC Chinese. Here's her analysis of TikTok's decision to quit Hong Kong.
This is certainly a very remarkable move. Some analysts see it as a PR stunt for TikTok, though, because it's reported that Hong Kong is a relatively small and loss-making market for the company. Last year, it's reported that TikTok had only 150,000 users in Hong Kong, which is relatively small, considering that the population in Hong Kong is around 8 million. And also, this is only 1% of the app's number of users in India. At the same time, the company confirmed that its sister app for mainland Chinese user, Douyin, will remain accessible in Hong Kong. So many critics are saying in this move, TikTok basically treats Hong Kong no different than other mainland cities, which is exactly what the national security law allegedly aims to do.
And I was mentioning that TikTok is Chinese owned, but do the Chinese authorities view it as a Chinese company?
Well, indeed. TikTok was founded in China, in Beijing, and its parent company is called ByteDance. The ByteDance first introduced Douyin, the video sharing platform, which is TikTok's older sister, I guess, to Chinese young people, and it was a great success. And afterward, the company introduced TikTok to the US, India, Japan, and many other countries. But just similar to another Chinese company, Huawei, now TikTok finds itself amid these international controversies. It might subject to China's influence, its critics say. Just you earlier mentioned in the sequence, the US Secretary of State, Pompeo, suggested Washington is considering banning TikTok because it might follow Chinese government's rules to turn over users' data. But Beijing said it would not do so. However, if you look at the Hong Kong national security law, TikTok, with registered company in Hong Kong, it would need to comply to the law to turn into data as requested by the Hong Kong government.
And just before I let you go, I just want to be clear, is there any evidence that TikTok and the Chinese authorities work together, coordinate together, in any way cooperate together?
So far, there's no clear evidence of that. And it will be interesting to see on what legal ground the US will approach if it were to ban TikTok in the US. Well, it's a strategy that TikTok has pursued for a long time to distance itself from China. It doesn't seem to be working right now, but it will be interesting to see how other countries will react to that.